most of the time. Might get a little wind noise. It's time to start on the front suspension. Just about. So what I need to do, got all the parts I need. Using Detroit axles. Got the mounting kit for the C5 to S10 Blazer spindles. So I got that kit in. Got the Corvette brakes and before mounting those, we'll paint them. They're going red. Still debating if I'm gonna clean up the Corvette lettering too, or just keep that red. I'll probably clean it up. But before I do any of the suspension with the Blazer brakes and these mounts, they hit right in here, so I'm about to grind these down a little bit and then put some paint back on it. So I'll be doing that today. Hopefully if the wind dies down. It's supposed to warm up, so if the wind doesn't die down, I figured I'll match some stuff off in the back of the garage and spray it back there. But yeah, so I have to grind these down, and I wasn't thinking I'll paint these also. So I did just paint them black. I have to go back over them, paint them red, so it doesn't look awkward with the calipers on there. So it's all going to be red, sitting on the drilled and slotted rotors. But as for today, it's just going to be the spindles, grinding those down, repainting them, cleaning up the calipers, and painting those also, and installing the brackets. Did come with the shims, so use the shims because you take off the desk plate, so it just needs that little bit of spacer in there. But I'll throw the part numbers up. Well, I don't think the brackets had a part number, just Google searched C5 to Blazer spindles, or two-wheel drive spindles. Found them on eBay. I think they were $135 shipped. The Detroit axles, it's a whole assembly. So I ordered these off Amazon. Just when you order them, make sure they're two-wheel drive, not the four-wheel drive. There's a difference. And can't think of the part number for the pads and rotors, but I'll throw those up. There are the power stops. Alright, so start off just marking where I need to trim down the spindles. So says the straight side needs to be on the inside of the spindle, and then just going to mark leave some line to where I need to grind it down a little bit. It looks about right. Just eyeballing it for now. First I'll grind it down, then test fit it again. If I need to grind a little bit more, I will. But if it's good, I'll just leave it. I just put 2 lines in there. So I'll just slowly grind away until it's flush with this mounting surface. Alright, doesn't take too much, just about 10 seconds with the grinder, and just get it smooth and test fit it a few times, make sure all the holes line up. I did throw the bolts on through the back side, made sure it was good, so both of them have plenty of room. I touched the spindles up a little bit with some paint on the bare metal. think there's going to be one spot on the back. I'm going to have to open up two just a little bit just to get the bolt in. But let me look at the instructions and I'll get back to you with where I have to grind on the back. Alright, so it doesn't take much, just a few passes with the grinder and you have enough clearance to get this bolt to clear. Did it on both sides, and I just threw the caliper brackets on there for now. I said I'll still paint these red just so when they sit on the rotor it's not black bracket and then the red caliper, it'll all just be red. But next step would be to put the hub on. Alright, so before I run to the store, grab those bolts. I'm going to try to get some paint on these real fast and do the calipers. So I scuffed these up, even though I just painted them black. They're going red. So I'll scuff these up when I wipe down where I grinded on the spindles. Scuff these up also. So might put a light coat on there, some primer, some paint. But I'm gonna clean up the calipers real fast. Just some caliper cleaner. Spray that down. Hit it with a wire brush and wipe it dry. Probably tape off the areas I don't want paint in. So all that. Hose right there. Just pretty much everywhere you don't want the paint to get to. And so clean it up, mask it off, and then spray it. So let me get to doing that real fast and I'll get back to you. So everything cleaned, wiped down. Still a little windy, but I'm gonna try to spray it. Just get a little break in the wind. So we'll see. But yeah, they're just going red. Alright, so I have 2 coats on these in the areas that we're gonna grind down. 2 coats on those, waiting for those to dry. So far with the calipers and the brackets, I have 1 coat on there. So looking pretty good so far. Was able to pick up the bolts for the hubs. They're M12-1.75 by 55 or by 50. So it's the size you need. Fill focus. So that's the size you need for the hubs to mount to the spindles. What else? But I'll probably do a few more coats on this. Just waiting about 10 minutes between each coat. But I think they're going to turn out pretty nice. So eventually, once it dries, probably take a block with some sandpaper and scratch off the Corvette. So just a little, I think it's polished under there. If not, just go back through with some touch-up paint and make it white. So get back to you once everything dries, and then probably put it all back together tomorrow. Alright, so like I was saying, it's coming out, finishing, putting the calipers to the spindles. Now test fit the rotors, make sure there's enough clearance, see if I have to use 1 shim or 2. But yeah, it's a little cold out, so the garage will be cold, or will be closed. Was trying to get this done a little bit earlier, but stopped over, talked to my boy Ravi, from grind school. Was talking to him a little bit. So just trying to see what we're gonna do with these cars, man. But yeah, let me get to it. Put it on time lapse. Cut YouTube on. It's like Life of J Malcolm just posted a video. I'll throw that on. Throw you guys on a time lapse, and just throw it all back together. All right. So before I throw it together, I'll give you guys a layout of all the parts. Start with the spindle. We have the adapters for the caliper mounts. We have the brackets, the calipers, the shims that will go in between the hub and the spindle. 4 bolts for the adapter. It's going to be 2 different lanes, so 2 of the longer ones, 2 of the shorter ones. And then the bolts for the hub to spindle. So I'll start off putting the hub on. I'll throw 1 spacer in between there, and I'll tighten those down to the spindle. Then I'll throw the adapter on, then the bracket, and then I'll throw the caliper on. Well, after the hubs, I'll throw the rotor on, then the adapter, the bracket, and the caliper. Check for clearance, make sure I don't need the second shim or not. Might throw a little bit of anti-seize on there. As far as the bolts, I'm not gonna put any Loctite or anything on them the first time. Once I realize once I find out how many shims I need, then I'll put the Loctite on there and snug everything down. Alright, so there we have it. The whole spindle and brake assembly is put together. As far as these wires go, they do come on the hubs. You don't need them. As far as I believe the ABS on the Blazers, so you got to find a way to secure those out of the way. But for the most part, it's looking pretty good. Still don't know what happened here. Probably clean that off with some brake cleaner, but looks good. All right, so I know I said I was finished. I wasn't. I just had it mocked up, and it didn't sit right to me. That, let's see, in between the hub and the spindle, I had that rubber gasket on there, and it wasn't allowing the hub to sit flush on the spindle. So I was looking up, and there's about 50-50. People saying you need that rubber O-ring, some people saying you don't. So I took it off and threw the 2 shims in there, and got that pretty close, or I got that snug down so it's flush. With the O-ring, there was a gap on there, so I didn't like that. So I came out, took it off, put the second shim on there, and it's good. I had a set of gauge fillers, which I can't find, so I'm just using the spark plug gap tool, and I'm getting the same gap on both sides of the rotor and the bracket, so we're good there. Also got tired of working on the hood of the Elco. I need a workbench. Just need to go ahead and get one, but decided to start working on the tailgate. But yeah, so now that the hub is flush with the spindle and the gap between the brake bracket is the same on both sides of the rotor, I feel a lot more comfortable now. So that's what I'm doing. That's it. I just had to come out, correct that. Wasn't sitting right with me. So I'm gonna take the rotors back off and do the other one as soon as the dog gets out of the way. But yeah, so yeah, that's what I'm doing. I know I knew it was wrong to begin with, that there's a gap in between here, so I didn't like it, so had to come out and fix it. But let me show you what I was talking about earlier. So that's the O-ring it came with, and then this is how that gap looks in there. So I knew that wasn't right, so I can't do that. Gotta get some light on it. So see that gap in there? Yeah, so that's what I did. Remove the O-ring, do the second shim on there, and then made sure there was clearance, the same clearance on both sides of the rotor with the bracket. But that's it. Let me go and do the passenger side. Or no, this is passenger side. Let me do that one, and that'll be it for the video. But you can see how good it looks with the drilled and slotted rotor and the calipers painted red. Just gives a whole different look. Then everything else painted black behind it. Of course you won't see those, but I did it.